Good evening, everybody. I show 6 o'clock. I think we can get started right on time. Mr. Hubbard, are you ready to go on the record?
I am. Just one moment. Okay, we are on the record.
Thank you. I call matter number 21-02182 in the matter of the Commission's broadband study and mapping pursuant to the Broadband Connectivity Act. Good evening and welcome. We are here today for a public statement hearing that was noticed on January 26, 2022. This public statement hearing concerns the Public Service Commission's study and mapping of broadband service, which basically means high-speed internet service. In a minute, we'll have a presentation from Department of Public Service staff about this study and what we're looking to learn from the public. The public statement hearings to be held this evening, and again at 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, and again at 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock p.m. on March 3 and March 4, are intended for public input into the study. My name is Greg Sayre. I am an administrative law judge for the Department of Public Service. I'm responsible for presiding over the hearings in this case and any legal procedural issues that might arise. This matter is currently before the Public Service Commission, and the study is being conducted by Department of Public Service staff. The commission consists of 7 members, and we are honored to have 2 of the commissioners online with us tonight, Commissioner Diane Berman and Commissioner John Majori. Commissioner Berman, would you like to make some remarks?
Thank you so much, Judge. Yes, my name is Diane Berman. I am a commissioner, as the judge said. My role here is really as a listener. I think this is an important public statement hearing. This will be looking at the broadband assessment program and the study, and it'll be important to listen to what the public has to say. So I will be fully engaged as a listener on this public statement hearing tonight, and I appreciate folks who are coming out virtually for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Berman. Commissioner Majori, would you like to make some remarks?
Thank you, Judge Sayre. I would just echo what Commissioner Berman said. This is an important topic, and I am here, as Commissioner Berman indicated, to listen. I very much look forward to everyone's feedback, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Majori. Let's go on to the next slide. Before we get into the details of the study, I want to explain the other ways the public can comment in this matter other than by speaking at these public statement hearings. If you did not pre-register to speak at one of the hearings, but you would like your views included in the record, there are a variety of other ways to comment that were listed in the public notice for these hearings. For those of you with computer access, we're showing a slide with the other ways to comment, and all of the details are in the January 26th public notice for today's event. You can comment by submitting comments on the department's website or by email or by regular mail or even by telephone. And staff will explain in a minute how you can participate by completing our broadband assessment study and our speed test. Regardless of how the comments are submitted, they will be given equal consideration. Comments may be submitted and will be considered throughout the pendency of this proceeding. And you'll be hearing this date again a few times from us. Because this study needs to be done in a timely way, we really need your input by March 18th. Department of Public Service staff now has a brief presentation explaining this study and the kinds of information we're hoping to get from the public. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Galasso.
Thank you so much, Judge. Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Galasso, and I serve as the Chief of Public Policy of Telecommunications at the Department of Public Service. Thank you to all of you for coming out this evening and being a part of this important discussion. I wanted to quickly kick us off with a brief presentation about why we're here. As many of you know, in April of last year, the legislature passed the Comprehensive Broadband Connectivity Act of 2021. This bill allowed the department to create the Broadband Assessment Program, a program that's now housed within the agency's Office of Telecommunications. The program, whose work will be updated annually, will release this spring New York's first ever interactive broadband map detailing the availability and reliability of high-speed broadband infrastructure statewide. We at the department are committed to making this program something that can be used by everyone, but we need your input to understand what's happening in your communities. Next slide, please. Now, a little about how we are conducting our research. As you all know, mapping broadband infrastructure is no small task. That's why we're using a three-pronged approach. First, we're using internet service provider data to help us assess gaps statewide. Second, we're conducting field verification of high-speed infrastructure in the most remote places in New York State. And third, we're hearing straight from the consumer via our broadband assessment survey and through our series of 8 public statement hearings. Next slide, please. What we hope to learn today, we want to hear about your internet accessibility barriers writ large. Among other topics, we're interested in hearing from those of you who are dealing with the following. You lack internet service entirely, your internet is unaffordable, you lack ISP competition in your area, and you don't feel like you're getting the speeds that you pay for. Next slide, please. Lastly, we have 2 calls to action today. First, we are asking everyone to take our broadband assessment survey and speed test by March 18th. You can visit www.empirestateBroadband.com from a home computer, a laptop, a mobile device, or while visiting a public Wi-Fi location. And if you're unable to take the survey due to lack of connectivity, you can call our toll-free broadband assessment line at 1-855-NY-BB-MAP. That's 1-855-692-2627. Many of you here will be making statements, but we do encourage those of you who live in household with others who would like to contribute to this important discussion, to encourage them to take our survey, to encourage others in your community or colleagues who are struggling with connectivity to take the survey. And finally, our last call to action, we at the department want to make every eligible New Yorker aware about the FCC's new Affordable Connectivity Program, also known as the ACP. This program provides discounts up to $30 a month toward internet service, and you can visit www.fcc.gov/ACP or call their support line at 877-384-2575 for more information and to sign up. Thank you so much. Back to you, Judge Sayer.
Thank you, Ms. Galasso. I will now explain the process that we're going to follow today. The purpose of our hearing is to provide you with an opportunity to tell the Commission your thoughts on the issues in this proceeding. The statements you make today will become part of the case record. We have a court reporter joining us who will prepare a transcript of the hearing, which will be included in the official record of this proceeding so that your comments can be considered by the Commission. When it is ready, the transcript will be available for view on the Department of Public Service website. This hearing is also being live streamed on the internet. This hearing is not an evidentiary hearing with cross-examination or a question and answer session, but it is a forum to hear comments from you. If you have pre-registered to make a statement, we ask that you please summarize lengthy written statements orally and submit the full written statement by email or mail. In order to be fair to those who are waiting to speak, we also ask that you try to stay within a roughly 5-minute time frame for your oral comments today. And if you seem to be going on a little too long, I may jump in and ask you to summarize and finish up, in which case you should send in the full details of your comments by one of the alternative means that I explained earlier and that are explained in the January 26th notice. The reason we're having this hearing virtually rather than in person is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. Normally, if this were an in-person public statement hearing, people would be allowed to sign up to make statements as they come into the hearing room and as long as the hearing is going on. But in this hearing, we cannot easily identify people as they get on the line to listen to the hearing. So as a result, As we stated in the notice of this public statement hearing, we've asked people to pre-register if they wish to make a public statement at today's hearing. Like the cards that would be used to identify speakers in a face-to-face hearing, the pre-registration process allows us to identify people who indicated they wanted to make a comment. Everyone who has signed up for this evening's hearing signed up electronically rather than by phone, but we will give people an opportunity to speak if they are calling in by phone. If you are going to speak, please use only one audio input and one audio output at your end. Otherwise, we may experience problems with feedback when you're speaking. I will start calling the persons who have timely pre-registered electronically one by one to speak. We'll then give an opportunity to other people to speak. After we call your name, we will unmute your line, and Ms. Kalis from our Consumer Services Office or I will let you know that you're unmuted. Please remember that if you have put your own telephone line or your own computer on mute, you will also have to unmute your line at your end before you begin to speak. Please speak slowly and clearly so that the court reporter can accurately capture your statement for the record. And when you start, please announce your name and spell it. Let's go straight to the speakers. Our first speaker is Michael Baden.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I am the town supervisor for the town of Rochester, which is a small rural community in Ulster County, approximately 7,300 residents. But we are a large geographic area of over 88 square miles. We cover, excuse me, mountain ranges to the east and west with the Shangum Mountains and the Catskill Mountains and the Rondout Creek Valley through the center of it. I bring this up because with these geographic constraints, wired broadband is the only available option for many of our residents. Wireless just simply does not work because of line of sight. Perhaps with new satellite technology, this may change, but under the current system, we have pretty much one option, and that is getting broadband through Charter Spectrum by virtue of our cable television contract. Now, the struggles of this are that Charter Spectrum will fall back on their reasoning that we have a franchise agreement with them for cable TV, not for broadband. Because of that, they are very either unable or unwilling to share with us areas that are covered. We estimate that we are about 70% covered in our community, but especially during the pandemic, it really came to light how that 30% of coverage is really desperately needed in our community. And I really would urge the Public Service Commission to move toward considering broadband as a public utility required to be able to be provided to all areas of the community, especially rural communities like ourselves who struggle for this coverage. I will say that the number one question I get from my constituents every single week is, how can we get broadband? When can we get broadband? And for these residents who don't have it, they're faced with quotes from Charter Spectrum of prices of in the tens of thousands and even approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single connection. Certainly not within the price range of many people in our community. So I thank you for holding these hearings. I hope that this is a great step forward in really working hard with field study to identify the areas that are not covered down to the parcel, and being able to work with the communities like mine to solve this problem for a need that truly is necessary for our communities to move into the next decade. So I thank you very much for your time and for your interest in hearing our comments.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Susie Ort. I don't see your name on our list of attendees, but if you happen to be calling in by telephone, please hit *3 on the telephone now and we'll identify you that way.
There's a raised hand, Your Honor. Do you want me to unmute them?
Yes, please.
You have been unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello?
You have been.
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you now.
I'm hearing your line has been on. Okay. Hi, my name is Susie Ort. I live about 17 miles outside of Oneonta in Otsego County, between three towns, Otsego, Unadilla, Wellsbridge, and Gilbertsville. We live in an area that is not serviced by broadband. We have a satellite dish provided by Viasat that is incredibly expensive for very, 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 very poor service. We also have no cellular service here. There's a tower that sometimes works. This week, it has not been working at all. So I couldn't get on to go through WebEx to get on to participate in this event, and had to call in instead. We're really sort of in a dead zone with very few options. So I'm hoping that for rural residents who have had to work from home, during the pandemic and maybe going forward, we are able to address broadband access and have it treated like electricity. We're not like in the mountains or anything. We're in between a few towns, but not far from a big city, and 3 hours from New York City. It's just outrageous that we not be able to connect pretty much at all. Thank you for paying attention to this, and I look forward to helping in any way I can to bring broadband access to New York State. Bye.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is John Juncker. Pardon me if my German pronunciation was wrong. I did see him on the line a few minutes ago. He may be having trouble connecting. If you can hear us and you want to check in and try and troubleshoot, the technical difficulties number is 800-342-3330. And I'll circle back and see if we can pick Mr. Juncker up. Our next speaker is Jacob Kraniak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I want to thank the representatives of the Public Service Commission for holding these hearings, Judge Sayre, Commissioners Berman and Maggiore. My name is Jacob, and I am the Deputy Director of the Fair Internet Coalition. You heard from my colleague Frank Cantor at the afternoon session today. We are a grassroots consumer advocacy organization promoting reliable, affordable, and accessible broadband competition. We also work to raise awareness of consumer issues with existing providers, with the goal of bringing these voices to regulators and policymakers. I, like my colleague Frank, are located in Suffolk County on the eastern half of Long Island. Our followers and respondents are from majority Long Island, though we do have respondents from further upstate in Ulster and Dutchess County. Over the past year, my organization has collected over 400 comments from consumers across New York State regarding their internet service. primarily with their displeasure of the provider Altice USA operating under the Optimum brand. The data and all comments have been submitted as part of the record for these proceedings, and we would request that the Public Service Commission reviews each of those comments because there's a lot of useful feedback. I'm going to read a brief summary of some of the data that we've collected. Firstly, what we learned is that 90% of respondents from the overall respondents group would not recommend Optimum to their friends and family, and 37% rated them a 1 out of 10. 92% of subscribers had a technician visit their home in the past year to resolve service issues, and only 29% were able to have those issues resolved. I will anecdotally state that I am one of them. I've had technicians at my home at least 7-8 times in the past 12 months, and my issues have never been resolved with losing service to internet, which affects me greatly because I work from home 100%, and I also attend university from home, and I can't do my job all the time. To continue, more than 3 out of 4 respondents have only one single option for internet service, which is Optimum in this case. And an overwhelming 95% of them say they would switch to any other provider if there was an option available to them. The data is clear. Consumers feel that they are stuck in a monopoly, feel like their issues aren't being listened to, and are extremely unhappy with their internet service. Competition fixes all of these problems. When consumers have an ability to switch to a comparable option, and I should note 5G and satellite are not comparable to cable, they immediately switch to fiber and are better off for it. I should add, Altice is not alone in this respect. Our town leadership in Brookhaven spent time requesting that Verizon expand their Fios product to the eastern half of Long Island back in 2014, after which Verizon management claimed that the costs of upgrading our old copper infrastructure was too high and they would not build out fiber anymore. Competition puts pressure on incumbent providers to improve their service reliability and lower prices for everyone, improving the situation for all consumers. We are calling on New York regulators and lawmakers to, 1, launch an investigation into the business dealings of Optimum by Altice. They have continuously put little effort into upgrading their service, and customers are left at times with no service, especially as so many work and attend school from home. There is precedent for such an investigation, as the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and the West Virginia Public Service Commission have already launched their own investigations for similar complaints after public hearings were held. They allege, among other things, that Altice is not abiding by the regulatory requirements put in place by the FCC during the acquisition of Cablevision in 2016. Second, we would like New York leadership to eliminate barriers and regulations that limit competition. And we do want to thank Governor Hochul for her leadership in launching the Connect All initiative, which should resolve this. We have friends at small and mid-sized internet providers from all across the tri-state area, and they all agree with the same thing. Eliminating pole attach fees, streamlining the permitting process, and eliminating right-of-way taxes will significantly speed up the build-out of fiber across the state. Lastly, we would like to ensure that funding for fiber deployment is distributed fairly for all players and make it easier for companies and startups to register for this program. We have seen grants in the past from New York where hundreds of millions of dollars went to large incumbent cable providers and satellite providers like HughesNet and Viasat, which we've heard from other consumers here. And little to nothing went to smaller, mid-sized companies that are actually looking to build out fiber. I do want to thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to speak, and we look forward to working closely with New York regulators on the issue going forward. That's the end of my statement.
Thank you very much for your statement. Our next speaker is Sharon Dunnigan. I do not see Ms. Dunnigan on our list of attendees. Ms. Kalis, do you?
No, Your Honor, I do not see any Caroline. I don't see any Sharon Dunnigan.
Well, let's circle back. We've actually gone through the list except for John Yunker and Sharon Dunnigan. If either of you happen to be on the line and on the phone, please hit *3 on your phone now. If you happen to be listening and aren't able to get in tonight, you can register for one of the other public statement hearings, either tomorrow or next week. We've been through the list and have some additional time. So I'd like to give people who did not register in advance an opportunity to speak. I'll start with the people who are participating electronically. You'll need to find an icon on your screen that looks a little like a hand, usually around the lower right of the screen, but not necessarily. There's a slide on the screen that may help you find it. You might have to move your cursor around to make it appear. Click on that, and Ms. Kalis from our Consumer Services Office will find you in the participant list, call your name, and unmute you. Then when she calls your name, please go ahead and make your statement. And at that point, please click on that hand again to unraise your hand, so we won't have a lot of raised hands that aren't immediately requesting to speak. So please click on the raised hand if you're participating by computer and would like to speak. Ms. Kalis, anybody indicating a desire to speak?
No raised hand, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll go to people who are participating by telephone, who did not register in advance but would like to speak. If you wish to speak, please press *3 now on your telephone, and Ms. Kalis will find the people who are requesting to speak and unmute you in turn. So please go ahead and press *3 now if you're on the telephone and wish to speak. Ms. Kalis, do you see any requests?
No raised hand, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll make a last call for John Yunker and Sharon Dunnigan. I just do not believe that they are online at the moment. I think we can wrap up the hearing at this time. I want to remind members of the public that they may submit public comments throughout this proceeding by the other means described earlier. If you could advance to that next slide. And in the notice of public statement hearings issued on January 26th. But as we explained earlier, we really need to hear from you by March 18th to include your input into the study. I thank the commenters for their participation and presentations. I thank Commissioners Berman and Majori for participating. Sangeetha Kalis from our Consumer Services Office for administering this session, and our court reporter, Howard Hubbard. This hearing is now concluded. We'll go off the record.
Okay, we are off the record.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a safe evening. Take care, be safe, and we will now shut down the call and the webcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.